Okay, it should be working. Times when you do not want to start a stream in the middle of an active conversation. All good. Okay, so Wednesday, I have push them commits, get them off my machine. So on Monday, I had the subscription parameters working. Helps if you start things up. This lack of organization for a stream, it's highly unprofessional. So subscription parameters, really, services helps if you start everything up properly before the stream. So worry about that in a second. So parameters just need to be correctly joined. But from here now, we also need to, I don't think we publish parameter subscription like this. Subscription parameters. Morning, one line. How you doing? How is your Wednesday starting? Busy. Well, busy because I decided to try to get the help page UI up today. Ah. Fun. Fun. Okay, so let's get it's working. So subscription parameters. I got the parameters in from the test that I did in Insomnia. So subscription ID, we have an entity subscription against that entity with these parameters. So what I'm thinking about now is we have this. Gotta fix that. Create parameters table, define parameters to notifications, all done, all done, all done. Pass parameters into the subscription, capture parameters with subscription. And I don't think I publish anything to do with the notification itself. I do. I publish the entity subscription created. Oh, because I need to know about the subscription on the side. Yes, I'm going to need that, aren't I? So I've been. Something's been bugging me the last couple of weeks with my development. And maybe I was actually just talking about it a minute ago on stream. In terms of like giving senior developers leak code exercises or giving them algorithmic stuff that's like tell us you can solve this. And the general pushback against this concept of, well, I've done it, I know what I'm doing. And I've done stuff for years and I've done it all the time and I think others are similar, right? Where I don't necessarily know the specific term or the specific design pattern for something because I just write the code. To me, it's just writing the code, solving the problem. If the pattern appears, the pattern appears. If I see something where I know a pattern can help, then I can use the pattern if I'm aware of that pattern specifically. But one of the things I want to start doing is start trying to think more in terms of the how I'm describing what I'm doing, and that's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy because I don't think in terms of um, sort of vertical slice. People say vertical slice. I'm like, what do you really mean by a vertical slice? And so I was trying to. So what I want to do is I want to try and when I come up against this sort of stuff, if I hear a term or a phrase, I want to try and understand how it applies to what I do, and then use that term going forward a little bit until someone pushes back and says, well, that's not a slice or whatever. So we can have a meaningful conversation and get that understanding shared. And if I have to adjust my understanding of what a vertical slice means, then I can adjust my understanding appropriately. Doesn't mean I know everything just because I've done this for a long time, right? And I want to make sure that I'm embracing that a little bit more. Doesn't mean I'm going to feel a little stupid at times. Um, because I'm going to, but I want to try and do this, right? I don't know if I'll succeed. I don't know if I'll revert back to form, which is the more likely scenario, right? But I want to try and do it. So last night someone was talking about vertical slicing. I was like, okay, so if I'm looking at Liquid Sky, what is a vertical slice? So, um, so I went to Claude and I said, okay, what's a vertical slice? It's an architectural approach where you organize your application by complete features or user stories. Okay, so if we go to the way Liquid Sky is organized, right? Um, Stony, hello. I would say how you doing, but you started with it's so hot. I'm sorry it is that hot. Um, so vertical slice. Um, I'm like, okay, well, hold on. So do I put the UI onto this? How do I do it? And it turns out I'm already doing the vertical slicing. So I it gave me the use case, and I then said, well, hold on, if there's a UI there, it's like, well, no, that's a separate piece. And they gave me a great analogy actually. Think of your API like a restaurant's order taking system. The custom UI places an order at the counter. The order processing slice starts when the cashier receives the order, includes cooking, plating, and notifying when ready. So if I say everything from the API entry to the publishing of the integration event is that slice, then there's my slicing. So the UI is its own slice. And anything that happens after is its own slice. So if I'm pushing it to the view, etc., that is its own slice. And I think without thinking about it, I have been vertically slicing my application the entire time. I'll be right back. I've got a dasher that doesn't know how to read. Be right back. Sorry about that. And Dr. Cox, hello. Welcome here. Um, Sorry, I ordered DoorDash, and the Dasher was like, "Hey, I'm here." I'm like, I say, leave it on there for a reason because I've got a camera that tells me, so I don't have to interact with people. uh, Lazy, yes, absolutely, but practical. Uh, from the times of COVID, but yeah, the order was wrong as well. So awesome. Anyway, first world problems. Vertical slicing. So yeah, I've been building this application and slicing the application vertically for a long time. So it's just another thing to be aware of in terms of the smells as I plan, as I put these pieces. You call it lazy, I call it personal property. I think it's a privilege, uh, and I'm fortunate enough to have, well, I say fortunate enough. I've worked hard. I do earn money. Uh, but it is still uh privilege to get someone else to be able to deliver food for you. Because right now we do not have that. So anyway, I am not diverting to that. So vertical slice. So we basically the only other thing we need to do here is this entity subscription integration event needs to include the parameters of the subscription, right? Because we need to be able to show the user, oh, by the way, this is what you have. Um, so I'm going to do this the same way I would anything else. Public class parameters, public class parameter. Um, Noyan, hello, welcome in. How's it going? Am I saying that right? No, Noyan Rain, Noya, Noya in Rain. Gotcha. So Noya. Well, welcome in. So we have a property. How I use keyboard. It's a required property. We have a string from. I'm gonna have to stop working with a Mac. It's just messing with my head with the keyboard shortcuts more than I actually realized. My typing is getting um. So what's buzzword soup? So I have this project. So this is Project Liquid Sky. This is a project management and planning application built to try and solve some of the problems I see with other products on the market in terms of their usability, in terms of their focus. So this is an application I've been building for a while. The concept is one of product and management and planning stays on one side of the house, development, tasking, and execution stays on the other side of the other house. So DevOps, uh, operations, DBAs, etc., live all over here and have the thing. So to do this though, I'm not just building one application. I'm building a rather large distributed system with lots of different techniques, lots of different tools, lots of different buzzwords and technologies, and that's the buzzword soup. So um, basically, I have a distributed system using Kafka, RabbitMQ with Mass Transit for service bus stuff. So Kafka I'm using for data state transfers. I'm using uh, these are not microservices, but these are distributed. It's a um, distributed monolith, I suppose. So we got lots of technology, lots of buzzwords in here. So all the things, and it is deliberately overly complicated. Well, no. It's deliberately this big. It is not overcomplicated. It is overcomplicated if you have not seen anything like it before. I stand by it is a solution. Um, so what we need to do is on this event we need to publish the parameters, enumerable parameters get set, and this is going to be an empty collection by default because that looked like buzzword soup indeed. So yeah, the concept is that product management and planning starts without developers, right? It doesn't begin with the software. It begins with the need, the requirement, the customer's expectations. So the concept of this is that all those things can be kind of figured out and put into place and described before development gets involved on a more technical level. So the concept, the concept. I've got to stop saying that. I'm trying to train myself out of that one. So the thought is that the product team is going to come in here, build out a planning item, and a planning item could be kind of small, it could be kind of large. It's whatever they want it to be. It's their wish list, their dreams, and they build requirements out for that planning item. So the planning item has a goal to be able to subscribe and be notified of change on the status of a specific planning item. And the requirements look like this, right? So they should be able to subscribe, they should see a UI, they should be able to set some parameters, the behavior is expected, and then they should see the notifications when those things occur, right? That is the expectation for this planning item. So this is a quite large but not massive thing, and this is one small part of a much larger initiative, and the initiative is the notifications initiative. So that is the idea. Now, once they are happy that they've got the requirements down, that they've got the things they need in place. Now, not saying developers wouldn't be involved at any part of this in terms of refining the requirements and making sure that what they're asking for is within reason, etc. Before, you know. But then the developers go off and task these things, so they actually break the tasks down, and the tasks side of the house looks like this, where the tasks are technical and the tasks are what is estimated. An estimate right now is just a number. It's nothing to do with points or hours or whatever. And it shows the requirement, right? It's showing what drove the need for this task to exist. And developers, those estimates go on here, and those estimates show up here. So, you know, 3, 5, a 2, a 9, a 20 doesn't have any value to product teams. Um, what does have, but a relative estimate of effort does help them see why. So the overall effort for this piece is a 6. I haven't really figured out these pieces yet, so I'm kind of working on them. Sounds very sensible, everything. I like it. Just burn the estimate. Well, again, if you want to, if your team is, if you're focused on hours, then put hours there. If you're focused on points, then put points there. If it's number of chickens, put number of chickens. It doesn't really matter. It's an estimate field that couches a number. It's why I haven't put points or hours, etc. there. It's up to you. But ultimately, what I want to do is kind of in the background track the lifetime of the tasks against the estimates. And then when the total estimates here on the initiative indicate that there is a likelihood that based upon the current estimate of effort, the dates will not be met, right? um, assuming a starting date of then, uh, but based upon the lifetime, without showing actual numbers, without ever equating those estimates to an hour rate, right? Without ever saying, oh well, in 90% of cases the developers were way off because they were estimating hours and it was nowhere near, right? So but help highlight to product teams that the developers, the actual required effort on this is not going to hit here. So you probably want to adjust your estimations or your expectations. So yeah, what I'm working this is actually the product I'm building now. I am using it to dog food developing it. So this is actually Liquid Sky. Right now I'm in it's a Kanban board. It's not really a sprint. There's no actual the times and stuff on there are only suggestions. It doesn't have anything to do with progress. But I'm just about to do this piece, and the one thing I neglected here is publish parameters. No food, buddy. No food. Not yet. Later. Later. Loki came to check. So now these parameters are going to go out on this integration event. And the way the stream works, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, good or bad, it's okay. I am perfectly fine with I'm perfectly fine with ignoring what I don't like. But also, I think you only get better by listening and understanding different perspectives. So I feel like at the company I'm with, we finally moved estimation away from the task dev side to the product owner side. My humble opinion should feed your dog. It was my breakfast, and I don't eat on stream, so we'll wait for that. Hey, Dota. Hello again. Which I enjoy a lot more. But the estimation, so the estimation from the product team, they're not the ones doing the work. I think the problem lies in the fact that they tie too much to the estimate, and also if the code is unpredictable, then the estimates mean nothing. So there's no point in estimating. Well, the estimation is a way of figuring out if they can, if they can adjust. Okay, in a true agile process, the requirements are understood far enough out, and the work is planned well enough to understand. Oh, if we move this here and don't do this piece, this is the cost. This is where we do it later. You can move things around and switch priorities more fluidly. If you're doing that right on the sprint or right on the cycle of work, that's not agile. That's just waterfall, right? Or not even waterfall. It's just scrambling to try and calling it agile because you're just changing your mind on what you want to do. The business cares about estimation because if you can become more consistent, if you can estimate more accurately, then they can kind of say within this time things should happen. It's not a guarantee, and it should never be taken as a guarantee. But a lot of businesses assume that because you say that's 3 and you took a day to do a 3-point story yesterday, that it's going to take a day to do a 3-point, and that's when it gets into a difficult mess. When they start assuming that a point means time, and you start assuming a point means a time, that's unhealthy. It's like in product owner estimate, things kind of scary. But the product, if you're not in a world where the um 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 if you're not in a world where the estimates mean anything, then the product owners might as well, because the product owners can say, oh, this is kind of this size, and that's roughly the same size as that. Yeah. It means the product owner communicates the estimates to, in our case, investors, who of course want to have some info about their money is spent. But trust and reduction in stress. I mean, again, it should be about confidence in delivery, not in time of delivery, right? You should be able to set a goal and see if that goal is able to be met based upon your expectations and your requirements, um, and then be able to and it's up to the dev team to agree upon whether they're going to meet that. If the code is random, if the code is, well, game development is a whole different world for development. I think certain aspects of what we do just have, yeah. There's key moments when a game will do well or well. It's like entire large businesses putting their game on hold because of Grand Theft Auto 6. They know it's not wise to release in a window around that game. Um, but ultimately, it doesn't matter whether we point, whether we estimate. And again, the estimates are not a necessity for this product, right? It's not, you don't have to estimate anything. Um, well, because they want to expect, investors want time estimates because they want to know when they can go on to the next thing or when they can promise things, right? Uh, it's a big, if you're building a product and you're trying to sell that product, you only sell that product by providing the features that people want and expect. If that product is evolving or the expectations are evolving, you need to be able to say, oh yeah, you can have this in the third quarter, you can have this when. So throwing time estimates out there is a thing. Businesses do need to learn to manage those expectations. Strandhorn, good morning. Teaches the product owner to estimate how long tasks take based on past experience and what devs say for the feature now, which in my book is great because that's in my experience always on. Yeah, but product owners are invested in making them look good and you look bad. So if they, so you are, um, you are at, it requires trust and confidence that your product team is capable of understanding that they don't understand the nuances of the development. You might hit a bug, you might hit a refactoring requirement, you might hit all manner of things that throw your estimate off, right? So if you've got that trust in your team, that is an awesome team to be in. If you trust that they're not trying to throw you under the bus at every turn or try to force you to work faster because they're putting estimates that are unreasonable on things and they're saying, yeah, we can take all this in this sprint. And you're like, whoa, the development, you're right. I've worked in those sorts of teams, which is why this product, right? I mean, if the underlying developer estimates are wrong, the product estimates are going to be aren't going to be more right either. That just points to not estimating. You need estimation. You need some level of guesswork at some point. How accurate you can be depends on the code you're working in, the products you're working in. And in that case, when your product team are estimating, your product team's true understanding of not only the product but the business they're in. You need estimation if you're going to try and deliver things in any sort of time frame. You do need to prioritize your times. Oh, this is going to take 6 months, but this is going to take 3 months. Let's do that one before that one. If you don't have an estimation, you don't know how long it's going to take. It's all guesswork, and you end up scrambling because people expect things. If you're working in an industry that has um, seasonal work, then there's certain points in the year you can't deliver software, or certain points in the year, a customer might have come and said, "Hey, I need this thing, right? I need it by then." Okay, let's go and talk to the developers. And again, it's about expectation management, but you say, yeah, we can deliver it in that time frame. So the estimates and the accuracy of those estimates matter. If you just impose deadlines, everyone's stressed. No one's better off for that. So I give an estimate for the next sprint and then be held to that estimate to a certain degree, but it's more of a motivation time management thing. The estimates, again, time estimates are poor. We're not good at time estimation. We are notoriously bad at time estimation. And again, the if I'm estimating based upon liquid sky, right, it's a gut feel right this second, but understand the pieces I need to look at, and I understand that two things are very similar, therefore they are three, right? So I'm estimating that. I'm confident because I understand the code. Um, have I been wrong? Yes, many times. Even if I gave our estimates, I'd still be wrong. One of the things is as well when you're doing the estimates at the beginning of the sprint, you say, what can we take, right? So if you've estimated, and again, this is why it's important to have every developer understand what is required, because you might not be the one that takes that work. If those point estimates are accurate enough, anyone should be able to take that work. And also you should be able to say, well, we kind of do 20 to 25 points a sprint. There's 30 points in here. Do we feel brave? Yes, we do. But you also take on that responsibility to do that work. Apex, good morning. Hello. How you doing? Um, I've also been misunderstanding requirements that come out in terms of the points. Uh, take a task, finish it, take the next task. Like basically like in Kanban, which is more agile. So here's another thing as well. I actually don't want to put labels on any of these things necessarily. I think that's what I say. Don't want to put labels, but labels help. Um, the 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 problem that I have with other tools is one of visibility. And again, what I'm trying to show here is again, estimates don't matter, but the idea is that the product team can see where in the process you are. So to your point, Noya, the um the if you weren't estimating, you just go off and you come here, you look at the requirements, you task it out, you go off and start working on that. Product doesn't need to ask you where they are with things because they'll know in progress, ready for development. So this one hasn't been started, this one has been started. They can see the progress. And ultimately, by the way, there will be a Kanban board in here for this planning item, right? So it will show everyone where things are in terms of the work for this planning item. So maybe in this world, those estimates aren't actually as useful because all the information they need is present, right? I often have a feeling that sprints are more about control and it's about trust, but I see there might be different experiences. Yes, there are advantages to work slightly more waterfall in sprints. I'll say I haven't tried Kanban. I know true XP guys refuse to work in sprints. There should be a retro and a regular cadence. So sprint increments are useful in that sense, but some teams don't need the retro time label, so Kanban would make more sense. Eh, sprints are about goals. Sprints are about achievement, right? Again, getting the team to. I don't like the gamification. I don't like the, well, you should try and get more points than you did last sprint because that's trying to force the team to get ever faster. Um, and it's not healthy. So, yeah. Um, there are valid cases for deadlines where I see estimates being important, but in my own experience, deadlines are often not really deadlines and kind of arbitrary. Yeah, I wish that was true. A certain amount of it, you'd have to be max agile or max waterfall. You should pick what works for that particular. I mean, ultimately, it's about delivering good software. That's what it all should be about. It should be about delivering the best product and working as a team. And again, what I'm trying to focus on here is encouraging that the team to do the right things themselves, right? Um, um, sprints help with a mindset or cadence for reviewing your priorities. And I decided to try Kanban to have a better opinion on Kanban versus sprints. your team will likely chunk up work into some sort of deliverable per time, regardless. Well, I think another thing there is when we start, like, again, the whole story thing where we have the stories um driving everything, and the stories must be deliverable. That's oftentimes uh one of those problems that kind of forces weird timelines. Whereas what I'm trying to do again is make it so you can actually understand, oh, these tasks will be taken in this sprint, these tasks will be taken in that sprint, or these tasks are currently in progress, right? It doesn't really matter. Um Otherwise I feel like I'm talking about not liking strawberry ice cream without ever having eaten strawberry ice cream. True, true. Do you think Mid Dog, welcome in by the way. Do you think these organization tools usually for teams still have the same utility for solo devs, side projects? Um, yeah, what Apex says, like this product, this tool is not aimed for solo. It's aimed to try and aid in the large team organization process where, you know, visibility and communication uh are challenging. But yeah, Trello, if you want the Kanban style board, Trello does a perfect job of that, right? Yeah. Again, it's about delivering software. So however you feel the most productive, as long as, to me, as long as your software is understood by you, is easily changed by you, does not have any, you know, oh, I can't touch that because that's scary areas, then uh um I'm fidgeting as well. I'm sorry. My chair is moving though. Yes, because I'm uncomfortable. Oh no, that's moving a lot, isn't it? I just noticed that. Yeah. What are you doing, VCam? I'm not that slippery. Hold on. Let me turn on the key light. That might help. That should lock it in. It's because I'm wearing a black shirt. It's trying to figure out where I actually am, where I start, and where everything else is. It's you turn the key light on, it just highlights just how dirty your actual glasses are. Um, I have a t-shirt on with a not wholesome message on it, and well, it's a funny message, but not everyone might like it. But I see how sprints can help with that. Yeah, it's getting priority straight. But I feel you can do the same with regular check-ins where you discuss what everyone is working on, what is important right now. I've good experience with the 2 weekly reflectance checking with the whole team. Yeah. So for context, um, this does not come from one job. Um, I have been a software developer for over 25 years. I've worked in a variety of environments. So uh, and it sounds like you work in an environment that I probably would envy. No, yeah. uh, I feel like there's a grey area of are you doing sprint or Kanban. I think there's a grey area in general, especially with the way the businesses fall into place. Um, uh, Yeah, because sprints we try and stuff as much stuff in as we can, but we've got these stories. Like, did you get this story done? No, I didn't get this story done. I got most of it done. Okay, well that carries over. Well, now it looks like your burn down's terrible, but you actually got a lot done. But it doesn't show in that sprint. It shows in the next sprint. So depending on if people are paying attention to the estimates and stuff, um, yeah. Um, The difference is it's looking back instead of estimating the future. I mean, constant reflection, constant adjustment of your process to make sure that you are delivering good software. Again, effective, right? That is what should matter more than anything else. Don't be stuck on process. Um, I agree. Baseball by Ron Jeffries, I think applies. Gotcha. Right. The whole, well, we don't like that, so we're just going to do it in the way we want to do it. And, well, baseball doesn't work because we tried to make it, well, yeah, yeah. Yeah. No worries, not yeah. I appreciate the discussion. This is what this stream is, right? The stream is meant to, uh, I don't know everything. I only know my own experience and my own opinions, and um, I'm building this based upon what I've done and what I've found to work and whatnot. And yeah, so it's always good to have these conversations. So I appreciate it. Okay, so we need to get these parameters published out of notifications. Again, the naming here is going to change. This doesn't make sense, but I don't want to change this right this second because I don't know what I want to call it. So once the system is settled in, we'll start to come up with what the phrases are that we're going to use and then come back and do a renaming exercise. Exactly, Naya. Exactly. May your work be productive, which sounds like it might be. So when the entity subscription is created, we need to publish this. So this is just literally subscription dot parameters dot select. P goes to new entity subscription integration event dot parameter. Actually, we can make that a record, can't we? I keep forgetting about records. Records are useful. And I will have the values, so it's not like I have to worry about default parameters or anything. Right. So now we can do p dot property, p dot from, p dot to. Going to derail for 5 minutes. I found a neat feature. Wow, derail. Like we need. Did I really re-enable that one? I'm gonna do. I found a neat feature of JavaScript toys. You can set a breakpoint in the code and did not start the debugger. It just logged out the data at all the points in the scope of the. Do we have anything like that in C sharp? Set a breakpoint in the code and didn't start the. It just logged out the data at all the points in the scope of the curly braces. No, he's not. He's saying that it's outputting. So you set the breakpoint like this in the JavaScript code, and then it logged out without you actually hitting the debugger, etc. It logged out what the state of this was in this bounds. Log point. Ah, evaluate and log. We're going to do some testing. Console app 8. New window. Dang it. Sample class doing things. Public void do something. Don't log. It's also neat that it puts little flags all through the function. You can hover them to see the data changes through the logic. So then if I just do that and do more and do log breakpoint hit, evaluate and log this number. And then we just run it regularly. Helps if we do it something, right? Var something equals new do something sample class doing things 42 and Jeff. Oh yeah. This name. Sorry, thank you. So can I log multiple there? Oh, so you could. Okay, so I could even run it. There we go. Line breakpoint suspend non-log expression. Okay, so there you go. So I can do it that way. And even if I run it in debug mode, it should still not break on that end. That thing, it should just log the value out to the console. Nope. Where does it log out to there? Log, evaluate and log this name. No. Hey, Zons. How you doing? We're just on a derail. Forgot you're focusing on. Yeah. He says focusing as he put his derail redeem back into the into the cycle, and someone actually used it. Oh, this would so interesting though. So you can control which breakpoints and then that. Okay. It turned yellow there when I said don't break. Log message, yes. log expression. So apparently, no, that doesn't done. So that's log expression. Um, I have point. I'm going to use them. Yes, you probably do have a lot of points. Are you going to open source the code at any point? No, no. No, Liquid Sky is yeah intended to be so okay, maybe not no. If for whatever reason I abandon the project outright, then yes, I will open source Liquid Sky. Um Maybe you need to make it a string interpolate. Maybe. Come on. It could be a self-install. Nah, self-install doesn't make sense for Liquid Sky. It's just too much of an infrastructure weight. Hmm. Okay, we need to revisit this. There's definitely a way of doing this, but I'm not going to get completely squirreled by this. He says, uh, "We did not win this one. We will be back. We'll visit console application 8 another time." I get them there. Oh no! Hello, welcome in. What are you doing exactly? Okay. So right now, exactly, I am working on getting my integrations. We were close on that one, that way, Apex. I'm getting my integration publishing. So this is Project Liquid Sky. This is my project management and planning application I've been building for quite a while. I'm using the product to plan the product. So this is an actual active item that I'm working on. So I'm working on this item here. Thanks for the look, Apex. If you haven't followed Apex, by the way, I highly recommend it. Apex is building a game. He's using dependency injection and unit testing in Godot in C sharp. Um, that's the thing I find the most fascinating. But he's building a game and he's making great progress on that game, starting to really take shape now. He spent a lot of time building up infrastructure in those pieces, and it's starting to bear fruit. So I highly recommend going and checking out Apex. It's a super chill stream to go and hang out in as well. I enjoyed I enjoyed Canada Day yesterday because Apex streamed for several hours. So yeah, so what I'm working on right this second is finishing up this particular piece of work. This is when a when I want to subscribe to a notification. So let's say I am a product manager and I want to subscribe, or even different. I'm a CTO or I'm a CEO or someone like that, and I care about what's going on this particular planning item because I have some investment in it or something. I want to say, okay, I care about this planning item changing the status. And that's why we're going to focus immediately. We're going to focus on the actual status. So if I update the status to in progress, I want to be told about that, right? That's the sort of thing I'm looking to do. Um, so this is Liquid Sky. This is my uh tool. Um, Liquid Sky looks like this from an architectural standpoint. It is a distributed monolith, I suppose is the right term to put in it at this point. Um, any advice in becoming a better .NET dev? I mean, what should a senior .NET know? Um, Practice, write code, watch stuff, learn new techniques. In my mind, I'm not a big fan of the whole senior junior label in general because I think there's junior developers that can write code in rings around me, because they really get the idea, they get the concept, or they are energized in the right way, right? So it's not about the code you can write, it's about the systems you can design, it's about understanding how things work, what options you have available to you. And I think that's the separation, is when you start to have more tools in the tool belt, not necessarily super sharp skills in any particular one area, but you have more tools in the tool belt. So um yeah, if you can build a system, if you can go in and say, okay, we need to do, I'm not saying you don't need help to do some of those things, but you know that you need to do something, right? Oh, I need a service. Okay, how do I create a service in this version of the language? Or how do I get this integration working? You know what to go and look for, and you know what you're aiming for. You might be wrong, but you can then learn and adapt. And I think that's experience. That's what comes with you. So it's just growing into that and doing more of that. I will never pretend to know everything. I there's massive gaps in my knowledge, but I do know how to build software, and I do know how to learn how to build software, um, and how it fits into the bigger picture. Also, the business, right? A junior developer doesn't understand. So if we're going with the traditional labels, a junior developer is one who is coming into the business without not business knowledge and without software engineering knowledge. They're just being told to write code. They're just being directed in that. When you get to a senior level, you should have a grasp of what the business is doing, the requirements, so you can push back on things more. So from a non-development perspective, I think you also need to make sure you engage in the understanding of the business more. Um, and a little bit of self promotion here, which I'm allowed to do apparently. Um, I recently published a video on technical debt, which would help if I actually copied that actual URL. Yeah, there you go. And in that, I do say, understanding the business, asking on requirements, getting involved in those pieces. That's oftentimes what um, will help, and it will also help in interviews, by the way. So if you're comfortable with asking business level questions, if you're comfortable asking, oh, how does this work, and how does that fit into the product roadmap, and how does, how do you see the future of the business going in terms of this technology, or whatever, but are able to understand how their business does use the technology, then it can also help you in those interview processes as well. So it's so I suppose the short version of that is just become more well-rounded. Don't worry about being uh, specifically a .NET developer. The skills to work with the language are already there. You've got experience building software. It's becoming more well-rounded, I think, is the measure. I need to go and get a coffee. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Coffee's a good idea. Yes. For example, where did you learn to use this diagram? Um, this diagram, like as in how to draw this out. I made it up as I went along. Well, the only thing that's common here is kind of database, right? Um, but I just drew this out from trying to represent. I think this way, like I think about the directionality and uh the flow, and I'm a big pictures person. So I have a client, it goes to a gateway. This gateway, we understand what the gateway does. Therefore, we understand. So I'm trying to represent the commands and queries are separated out in the system. Um, yeah, so there's some commonality you pick up over time of doing diagramming stuff. Database is pretty much, I think, the most common one. I'm not trying to use flowcharts. I'm not trying to use these labels in any way to represent things, but ultimately it just comes down to be able to get your message across. And this diagram is pretty much the staple of this stream when I'm talking about Liquid Sky, because it's the easiest way of showing all the moving parts of Liquid Sky. Right. These are all independent databases, by the way. These are all independent services. These are all communication paths through the system. Actually, that is to be more accurate there as well, if I'm going to be accurate about it. Mongo. That is not a SQL Server DB. There you go. Yeah. Mermaid is helpful. Yes. We actually do. Mojo and I spent one evening. Um, there is the foundation. This is using Markdown, so Liquid Sky does support Markdown, but there is the foundations of getting Mermaid chart in here, by the way. There is the libraries included, it just doesn't work very well. So the effort will be made to do that later on, because that would be useful. So that is a development effort to come. So again, the foundation's there. We actually went through the effort. Mojo had me going in. So if you look, if I do that, I can now tab in as well. So tabs work when you're inside of the, the ticks, but otherwise they go out. So yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so I'm getting very much done, but that's okay. We've had some good discussions today. But yeah, oh no, if you are interested, if you want to ask more questions, if you just want to share thoughts and opinions, there is a Discord attached as well that I'm always kind of keeping an eye on. So if you have, and there are more experienced developers in that Discord as well, um, you're more than welcome to join that if you have specific questions. Um, to me, diagramming is, you know, thank you for the follow. There's more. It's more about just telling the story in the quickest possible way. I do like pointing, and you don't need specifics, but these things are um, easily understood from a picture. The code, not so easy to understand. There's 90 projects in here. This is just the back end. Um, there's a separate UI project. There's there's the one thing this doesn't go into. There's an entirely separate project for the back end of the back end. So there's a lot of moving components. So right now, what's going to happen is, going back to the diagram, when we subscribe to be notified of a change, that event is getting carried here, stored here, and when we store it, so right now we're storing, here's our entity subscription for that entity, and here's the parameters for that subscription, right? So this is saying if the status changes, we've got to decide whether we want and or as well. That's an interesting one. This was just a test. Um, Title changes from test to other, then that should fire. So we'll have to talk about that later on. And what I'm doing right this second is I'm trying not to go too deep into the analysis of this and try and over engineer the solution. What I'm trying to do is get some of these basic uh, use cases done to prove out the concept. And once the concept's proven, and again, this one should get all the moving parts in place, be willing and ready to iterate back over what I've just done, even tearing some parts out, but being able to see it and go through the, oh, what if this? And oh, hold on, does this need this? Be able to go through that and come back around quickly and do it. It's not going to remove the need, but it's going to refine the requirements and then be able to drive future requests from there. So I'm not overthinking this problem. So with that done, what should happen now is if I run the application and run this one, we should be able to create a new subscription for a new entity and have that publish a Kafka notification. So a Kafka notification should have gone out, by the way, for this one. Kafka messaging outbox did get a message. Yeah, so the notification went out. But yeah. Actually, no, hold on. Stop. Okay, this is wrong. First to default, new entity by identifier spec. This is where this stops working. So this specification isn't going to do what I want it to do because it's not going to pull the joined parameters. So this will break immediately on this. So let's do specifications, new entity subscription, no, tracking specification. Spec. So I'm using Ardalis spec against entity framework here, so I can kind of clean up specification, entity subscription, I single result specification, subscription, entity subscription. Okay. So sealed, constructor, and I believe I have a GUID. So I have GUID identifier, and then we have query dot where s goes to s dot subscribe. No, identifier equals identifier dot as now tracking, but we also need to do dot include s goes to s dot parameters. So this is going to be a no tracking query. So now we go over to here, we replace that with that. And now that will give us what we want. So this specification, this just avoids having a from sub in entity subscriptions, repository dot whatever, get all, where whatever. It just avoids that query happening in there. It does mean the spec is potentially reusable. It's also testable. The query does not bind the code up. I can just mock that call and say, hey, here's the date you returned. So it does give some testability. There was a .NET uh, um, um, stream the other day, live. Come on. Where are you? Um, it was quite interesting. I was holding off because I figured he was going towards specifications because he mentioned it earlier on. But there's quite a lot of debate and discussion about whether you should use entity framework, whether you should wrap entity framework. It's a consistent argument, and the reality comes down to, again, use what works for you. Just build good software. But that was quite fascinating to to be a part of. So localhost 4200. You sign in. Realistically, right this second, all I need is my token. That's all I'm actually after because I don't have the UI set up for this part yet. That is loading data, by the way. That's why that's taking so long. Um, Again, this data is all the dev data, but the actual product is using, this is real. This is all stuff that needs to be done. But yeah, if you are new to the stream, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, if you think it's wrong, if you think it's overly complicated, if you don't like the design, I want to discuss those things because I think it's useful. I'm not looking to defend myself over my decisions. What I'm looking for is, I would like to understand people's approaches and different opinions on how stuff should be done. There are people who come into the stream that believe that it is overly complicated, and to some extent it is, and that is deliberate. But those sorts of discussions are helpful. So yeah. And I'm happy to show any component of the code. I do not open source it because obviously it is something that I'm trying to build. Um, whether it becomes a real thing or not is not the point. It's more I do not want to just open source that code and have it used and also have to support it anyway before I'm ready to support it. What am I doing? Insomnia. Okay, so we need to get different planning items so we can be certain of no conflict because you know so let's go and copy that bearer token. So I'll just copy the bearer token over to the thing. I'm going to go find a different planning item over here, hopefully randomly. That okay, so I'm going to property. I'm going to add another one, property projects. This is going to be an interesting one from, oh, that's going to be an interesting one. Let's not do projects. It's not actually going to be doing anything in a second, but I don't want to, I don't even want to demonstrate it because it's not review date. No, review date is not a good one. Status, title, assigned to, from, let's just pick a different, assigned user identifier from null to, okay, this use case might break it, right? So I'm going to test what happens if I have a null from and a populated to. Do I get everything I expect? Let's go. Okay. So notifications, DBO, tables, subscription parameters. There's our 3 parameters. Okay. So there's our subscription, right? Our notification should have gone through that the event entity subscription was created. Yep, the 2nd of July. And now we should have a Kafka event in here that's published. There we go. So yeah, that all did exactly as it should have done. going to say there's a content field somewhere, right? And if you look at this, that looks like that. So there's the parameters, status from null to null, property title from test to other, property assigned to from null to that. So it captured everything. That's awesome, right? So that did exactly what it should do. We can stop that, we can commit that, and we can move on. Now I'm not going to do everything on different branches here. There's a potential I should do, but that's definitely a thing that would be determined by the team working on that product, how the deployment goes. So this is updating the, let's see, add parameters to entity subscription integration event, create specification for node tracking queries. Include parameters. Okay. The weird thing there is I'm going to push that to both repos, and the first one doesn't even have the concept of that because it's just the parameters, but it's the same commit. Okay, so with that done, go over here. Okay, so this particular piece has been completed. So now we need to move to the UI. So we now need a UI to add a button to the planning item. So my putting my designer hat on, I kind of want this sort of UI, right? Now there's two parts here. There's and again, this is what I'm saying. The language of the domain so far is wrong. I know it's wrong because I can feel it's wrong because I'm struggling on how I'm describing things. However, I am not going to bog myself down in trying to fix that when I don't know what it all looks like. So there's clearly a difference because the notification, as I'm considering it, is the act of telling me this thing, right? So this might be change subscription. It's kind of vague. So I am kind of thinking about what that looks like. I'm going to mute because I need to eat something, but yeah. So I'm going to just 1 second. That, turn that off. Yeah. Okay. I'm using you as my senior. Lack of expertise in today's seniors is a shock. I mean, at least in my company. Huh. Yeah, it's why I don't like time on job should not be the measure of seniority, right? It shouldn't be. It should be your ability to contribute to the product which sets you aside. If you are, I mean, as a younger, um, not necessarily younger, but as a less experienced person, um, you might be a very talented developer, but you do not have the polish. I still think engineer might sound pretentious to people, but you are not a polished engineer. You're a developer, right? You can code, you can put stuff together, you can learn new things, but you just can't establish. Um, so where I'm at in my career, um, is uh, like the label doesn't matter. I want to produce great software. Um, I want to be more involved, but I have found that I just tune out these days. Um, Long meetings where nothing gets solved, but everything gets solved because they think that the meeting to have a meeting about meetings is necessary. You know, those sorts of things. Um, so I try to be very selective over, you know. Oh no. Hello, all. How are you doing? How is everyone? Thank you very much for the raid, maybe. I don't know if I need to shout maybe out, but he's uh he's worth a follow. He's all right. Um Also if you want to see how LinkedIn is done, definitely worth a follow. He knows how to play that game. Hi Barry, hi again Stony. Uh Restricts, hello, welcome in. You join me on a diagram. This is awesome. So sorry, man, your knees are right. Good vibes. I don't have to get to know someone. Yeah, it's all good. It's a bit of a difference coming from your stream. Coming to this stream, it's very quiet. Hello, hello. This is a very impressive looking diagram. So, so this is Project Liquid Sky. Um, Not named after the movie. Um, this is a product I've been working on for the last year or so. Um, it is my this looks like the steps I need to keep my wife happy. It will still end in failure. There is no happy. There is just not mad at you. Um, there is no real answer. So, Liquid Sky is a a tool I've been building. Again, as was almost going to on maybe stream a bit earlier on. Um, I have opinions on product management and development being two separate worlds. I want to join the worlds, but give both sides the tools they need to do what they need to do properly. And I feel that product management often struggles on the, especially in my experience, on the requirements gathering phase, on gathering clear requirements and making it look like work, right? So this is the planning backlog. It is literally the planning backlog. There is no development backlog at this point. This is all planning. And the concept is, and the concept. You know, so there's AAOA has a count of swear words on his stream. I need to do it for concept. I need a counter for the number of times I use that word in a stream. But the idea, replace it with another word I use all the time, is that the product team would be able to go and discuss and plan what they want, attach documents, have discussion, have comments. I want to track meetings against these things as well. Ultimately, that is a goal. It's there deliberately to keep pushing me towards that track, but be able to specify what they are expecting. And a planning item can be small or large. It's completely within the flex of the organization, but this is very focused on the what do we want, how do we want it, not the how is it delivered technologically aspect. Developers task out the requirements. So the requirements are handled over here, and a requirement has an estimate on it as which sprint it's attached to. If a status. When you create a task initially, you assign it to a team. You do not assign it to a person. It is assigned to a team because the person doesn't matter, is the concept. And then later on, as you go to, and right now it's still able to be assigned to a user here, but I think that's going to get removed. Although this is all within the development phase of the application. Once you're working on stuff, and this is actually what I'm working on, I actually am about to move this over here. I'm about to start some UI work. The goal is that you can see where that is. So over here, without asking any questions, without worrying about where things lie, the product team is able to go in and see, oh, that's in progress. So this is being worked upon actively. Whereas there's no tasks and other things, which is bad. This is not the best case scenario. I'm deliberately being a little bit more waterfall right now to move progress on the application forward. But if you have thoughts, questions, opinions, you're more than welcome to share them, whether they are good or bad. I'm happy to take feedback in any form because I think it helps make me, UI work. I feel sorry for you. Hope you can get energy enough to finish the task as fast as possible. Yeah, Adrian, it's as you can tell, UI is not my forte. This is many months of this is actually I spent 2 or 3 weeks trying to get this lined up after going and showing this to AOA. That was quite an experience, and it is better than it was for certain, but it's not my forte. So yeah, but Liquid Sky is a distributed monolith. It is only developed by me primarily. I've had some help. Mojo has helped build a backend piece, so there is a backend UI following a similar pattern that manages subscriptions. But right now, that piece is just kind of on hold. But there are two phases to this, or two aspects to this. This is a playground first and foremost, though. Deal with blackjack and always just lowering that quality just a little bit, just lowering the quality. I need you got work to do. Oh, you and I start work almost at the same time. um, actually, yeah, you are working almost the exact same hours I do. That's hilarious. So nice. Um, yeah. So see, you just got earlier like me. You can stream longer. Yeah. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. So this is the code behind Liquid Sky, which is probably the more interesting component of Liquid Sky. It is as I said, it is a distributed monolith. There's lots of technologies to play. Currently at 90 projects. You may level the over engineering. You may level all sorts of accusations, but I am very comfortable navigating the code. It is consistent. It is clean for me to work in. I can navigate around, I can get stuff done, and I can make progress, and I'm comfortable refactoring and moving things around. um, I was actually just saying before you joined this notifications thing. I haven't figured out what this actually is called yet because I keep flip-flopping a little bit on so the notification is the act of telling someone something occurred, right? So this is not notifications. I actually am separating out um notifications from communication. So this entire area might be notifications, but the act of telling people something happened is not the same as them saying I want to know about something. So this might become subscriptions or something else. So because the way it's going to work is, and we just got this latest one in, you can say I care about an entity, right? And here's the parameters I care about in that particular subscription. So you might say I care about a planning item, or I care about um an an initiative. An initiative means that all planning items underneath that, any changes occurring under that initiative will trigger this, right? So the ability for you to subscribe and refine those requirements for what you want to be told and when you want to be told it are there. So um, there is two separate components. There is the hey, here's what I care about, and then the oh, tell me this. So do you want an immediate email? Do you want a push notification to the client? Do you want a summary at the end of the day? Although this again opens up a whole can of worms of what is when is a summary scheduled for? What do you schedule it here? Do you say, okay, I want to know 10 p.m. every day. I want to know once a week, right? Certain information you might care about, right? If it's an initiative, you might say, okay, I want to know about everything that changed an initiative every week. But you might want to know if someone moves a planning item to ready for development immediately because you might care about knowing about that. So, or you might want an email at the end of the day. So this opens up a whole world. So what I'm trying to do is develop the basics, the workflows, and then what I'll do is come back and rename things and tidy things up appropriately. And I've done this many times, so I'm confident again in doing it where um, I can do that. However, right now what we need to do is put a UI against this endpoint, right? So this endpoint is the subscription, even call it subscriptions here, subscribe, right? Um, the this part, the receiver's part, is the actual part that takes the changes and says, okay, do you meet the criteria of this notification or this subscription? Yes, you do. Okay, let's go off and tell them, yep, this happened. So we're gonna figure out those pieces. Yeah. But the stream is not necessarily about me getting the code done. If you have questions, if you want to learn more about why I'm doing things or how I do things, if I can help share some of that knowledge or explain some of my decisions to help you, then I am happy to talk about it as much as I am to sit here and code. Okay. So Liquid Sky is up and running. We can run the client. So this is the dev instance. The front end is Angular right this second. One of the things I definitely hold to is I split out my front end from my back end. So the choice of client is completely flexible. I can build a new client using whatever framework I want and not do anything else. If I want different aspects of the client, I could do that. I could put a tech only version together, or, I have that flexibility because it's all just behind an API. So let's talk about this. So my initial thought is that what I want is that I want an icon here for subscribe, and that will show the dialogue. And I think, did I end up including? I did not. There was a version of this I included font awesome. which gives me a whole lot more icons to use. Yeah, we'll stick with what we've got for right this second. So I'm using I'm using you think I know this? Hey, I'm comfortable with the development. I can move around the development quickly. What am I using? I can't remember what I'm using. It's escaping my brain. I am a professional. Lucid Angular. Oh yeah, we do have lucid icons. Yes. I forgot about lucid. Um Now I need to Prime. Prime NG. I'm using Prime NG, sorry. For the UI plus some tailwind and then lucid icons. That's what I'm using. See, it's that front end development. It just doesn't gel. Okay, so if we have subscribe, okay. RSS feed. That's a bit outdated. Podcast. Notify. I think that's more appropriate, right? Isn't it? Notify. Bell ring. If we use the whole um solid icon, there's no solid icons there for this, though, is there? Mm, bell plus, bell off, bell minus, bell dot. Let's just get something in there for right a second. So that will be what we need to do. Go over here and do what's the name of it? Alarm notification. That's fine. Twitch uses a star as a subscribe icon. Yeah, again, the visual language is going to be interesting, isn't it? Because it's going to be so I'm kind of more aligning to yeah, they do use a star, don't they? I'm kind of more aligning to the YouTube, the bell notification, like tell me when this goes live sort of behavior than I am a subscribe. So again, the language is going to be interesting. Bell, it's just bell. Okay. Right there, the import is there now. So yeah, uh, we'll see. Again, nothing's perfect. Everything can change. So what I'm going to do is try and get the dialogue in at least. Uh, that's in features, planning, dashboard. No, it's not the dashboard. It's not a dashboard. Planning items. There's our grid. Actions. Edit planning item. P button. Oh no. Let's do 1, do 2. Yeah, figured that's gonna be that. Icon bell ng. Let's just do this for right a second. Doing that more and more these days. What would you do if you need to extend a legacy solution that's pure garbage code? Well, it depends on what you are planning to do. So there's no right answer. Is ultimately the way it is. If you are trying to build existing functionality or rebuild existing functionality, if you need to keep both of those working, you've got a code maintenance nightmare, right? Um, if that system is .NET, right, you might be able to isolate some things out and call and replace things with services. So you could build a service to do the thing and then port the code over into a better way of doing it while testing it, and then just make API calls out to the service. That is an option. You could um and basically you are building breaking the application down into little pieces. Microservices are often seen as the solution, but they often make things more difficult to manage and maintain. So it's not necessarily where you would immediately head. If you're building new functionality, I would do the API integration stuff and build your new stuff as API calls to for certain. Um, it, but it all depends on the appetite the business has for the things that can be done, right? There's all sorts of different ways of doing things, stabilizing what you have, um, adding in more testing and uh, taking on more refactorings because you've stabilized that, so that you can also increase your knowledge and build new brownfield software alongside. Um, yeah, I've tried different approaches. I've looked at different ways. My most successful one was to basically refactor and reorganize the code that existed to stabilize it to reduce the support time, so that there was more development time available. And at that point, try and identify again that whole thing is understanding what the business needs, saying to the business, well, look, you've got this on your timeline, but we can't achieve this with what's there, and it will hold us back because the technology is out of date. We need to move it forward, but we can't just lift and shift, right? Um, this is back in the days of .NET 4.7, um, where .NET Core was around the corner, right? Um, you couldn't just lift that code out and or switch it over and use the new framework. Um, so yeah, it's Um, so building a brownfield solution in place while maintaining and reviewing the existing functionality was necessary, but it worked because it was we'd reduced the support cost to the point where the application was just doing its job and wasn't kind of a maintenance mode. Okay, so there's our icon. Not green like that one. Does not align. I think that's the right action. Yeah, it's not an uncommon problem. Oh no, it's um and most garbage code someone was proud of once. Someone's proud of the solution, Years of adding code on quickly. If your business is still in that mindset, changing the way people develop first might be a better way of building a better future. So that people are respecting better practices and are testing more thoroughly, are thinking about what it is that they're writing before they write it, and talking and planning. Again, this entire product comes from this world of I've dealt with too many groups that just don't do this phase effectively enough, so that when you get to the actual code, things aren't right because people make assumptions. Oh, well, I think it's what they want. I think they need this, and it don't work. So let's go here. So how do I make that into a button? Will it let me wrap P button around that? I don't think it will. So I don't want to clone a style. I've got two options. I make this an edit icon. So this uses the prime icons library, and that uses Lucid. Although if I look at prime icon, let's just go and have a look and see if prime icons has that. List. I mean, it likely will. Pi bell slash. So let's just do it this way for right this second. It's not going to hurt anything to do it this way. I'm going to use the slashed icon for not subscribed. Does that work? I don't know if that works. That's we'll talk about whether we need a permission in a second. Notification subscriptions. Yeah, that looks better, doesn't it? And we probably should flip them. You probably want the pencil icon to be first because you're more likely to want to edit it rather than subscribe to it. There we go. Notification subscriptions. No matter which choice I make there, it's going to be wrong. Someone's going to be like, well, no, you want to show them this way because they think about it this way, or, you want to show it this way. So I'm going to be wrong. That's fine. Let's get the dialogue worked on. So components, new, Angular schematic. Component, notification, subscription, dialogue, skip tests. I do not do unit testing on the client side. I have no skill on that in that respect. I barely have enough skill to get a UI together. So how the heck I'm going to do unit testing on the client side is beyond me. I have to pick my battles, and what I'll do is choose code I can understand and not leave a lot of fluff out there. And then later on, if I can understand how to build effective unit tests, because it might highlight that I'm designing components wrong or I'm breaking things down wrong, I am willing to do that later on as I learn and grow in that direction. But it is not a skill I've picked up along the way. Uh, I've seen it done wrong many times. So notification subscription dialog is going to look very similar to this for right this second. Item dialog visible, form p dialog, import forms module, that's fine. Item dialog visible, edit planning item. Header is Notification subscriptions. That's fine. Draggable false, resizable false, modal true. Yeah, I don't want to be messing around with this window. I'm gonna create a form group. Um, uh, form group. Group. Me and that button don't get along, do we? Ah, come on. But Mac, it messes me up. I tell you, it just messes me up. Item dialog visible. So this is going to be a behavior thing. We're going to toggle this. Hide dialog. Let's put that in there. This form reset. We're going to need a variable. Item dialog visible. And we're going to put some buttons in here. Move that one. Put that one in there. And then we're going to remember to, did I rename this yet? LS? No, app. Namespacing and putting selectors on things. Pretty much terrible at those things as well. That's okay. I'll get there eventually. We will get better. So this is going to be app subscriptions. There you go. And then this is going to be subscriptions. The open dialog item. These are gonna be again like these are gonna be the same thing. Open dialog is going to require some amount of similarity here. Right now, that should be all that's required. Come on. There you go. Okay. Notification subscriptions. Interesting. That's not the behavior I wanted. Oh dear. Yeah. On click. So what's happening is because this is in the row and I've got a row click, I need to figure out how to not have this count as the row. So what I did is to make it more usable, you can click anywhere in the row. But now if you click in the row, when I'm editing, it doesn't really matter because you're kind of on that thing anyway. But when I do this, I don't want to do that. But that should also cancel the dialogue. Hide dialogue. Did he forget to stop his stream? Whoops. I wish I could say I've never done that. I am always thankful for one line when I make that mistake. I should write back to him. Okay. So yeah. Why are you not closing? Are you erroring? Well, no, that entire thing. I think it's something errored. Yes. Cannot read properties when defined. Yeah, okay. It's because of that. It's because I don't initialize form group. Um, implements on init, public ng on init. This dot form group equals new form group. I have experimented with a few different ways of doing this, and I think there's another way of doing this where you put in the form builder. What I found is, and I think there is a signal based forms, but I'm yet to figure those things out. So I've got three different methods of initializing these forms in the app so far. And I've got to learn which was best because some of them you want to know how things have changed using signals or whatever. So yeah, but that should now mean that works. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So apart from the annoying expand behavior, which again you wouldn't want to do, my intention right now is I'll show the full bell if you've got subscriptions and the see again that means cancel. This doesn't feel right, but in the same I don't have a fill pi bell. See that looks okay, but it would be good if there was a filled version of it. And then we get that loading overlay because we're expanding the row. All we need is the ID, so it's okay for this one to do that. What happens is when you click on it, it loads that data and then goes and uh, it's everything else. But anyway, he's doing Angular. No, he's not. Zones. Okay. Well, we're gonna raid someone we don't normally raid. Nivek Dev is streaming. Doesn't have the most wonderful microphone, but he's a developer streamer. I have followed him before. Coding Angular, TypeScript, RxJS, Quick. Right now he's got MCP, vibe coding, and AI agents. So, yeah. But let's go raid Nivek. I will be back on Friday. I'm unfortunately have a PT appointment tomorrow morning. If you do have any further questions, if you want to talk about more software development stuff, if you want to ask anything, there is a Discord. You're more than welcome to join. I often hang out in there. Yeah, unfortunately, I get paid to do something, and it's kind of good to, you know, do the work. But yeah, don't forget it is Wednesday. One Line streams Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. One Line is an awesome streamer. Also does .NET development. Sorry, Duca. Welcome in. I'm sorry. But yeah, and on Fridays, One Line hosts community days, which are great. Which I've yeah. Mars, good morning. How you doing? Yeah. So I wish I could. Friday will be a longer stream though, because Friday is the 4th of July. We have no plans. So yeah. Oh well. I can't help it. But anyway, let's go raiding Vec. I'm back on Friday. I'll be around Twitch, obviously. And I will see you all soon. So thank you for joining me. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, all.